What's up, boys and girls? My name is Aaron, and this is the very first episode of Wrestling by Waldridge. Yes, this is a brand new wrestling channel, and as we all know, we can't have enough wrestling channels on YouTube. So the first show that I will be presenting on this channel is my top 5 wrestling matches of the week. So as we all know, ranking wrestling matches comes with its contradictions. As it's highly subjective, we all have different opinions. So whilst I won't be given an overall rating on each match on the list, I'm going to be doing something that's even more controversial, as I'll be rating each match on different elements of what makes a pro wrestling match great. The 5 elements that I'm going to be covering are the story of the match, the psychology of the match, the work rate of the match, how exciting the match is, and the match structure itself. And whilst I know there are other elements to what makes a pro wrestling match, I'm hopefully going to be condensing these other elements into the 5 that I have just stated. And whilst I won't be giving you a play-by-play of each match on the list, I'll be giving you a short analysis as to how good I thought the match was and why. Before I get started, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Tommy Dreamer. You know, he's had 31 years in the wrestling business. That's absolutely brilliant. Also wanted to give a shout out to my boy Ric Flair. At the lofty age of 71 years old, he's still slaying, still knocking up the ladies. Good on you, mate. And commiserations to R-Truth for losing the 24/7 title for the 49th time, I think it is. But don't worry, mate, I'm sure you'll win it back next week. So without further ado, here are my top 5 wrestling matches of the week. So we had a stacked week of wrestling this week. You know, that week where NXT rechristened Valentines Day as Vengeance Day. Because, oh my god, Vengeance Day was so good. Such a good show. But will any of their matches feature on my top 5 of the week? I mean, bit of a silly question really, isn't it? To kick things off, coming in at number 5, we head to Monday Night Raw. Yep, already contradicting myself. But it was a great match, which saw Sheamus defeat Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles and Kofi Kingston in a gauntlet match to determine who will enter last in the Elimination Chamber this Sunday. And I won't lie, I do like a good gauntlet match, as it does instantly make the match far more exciting, as you're always intrigued as to who will come out next. I thought the match told a fantastic developing story, starting out with AJ attacking the previously injured leg of Kofi, which the Miz had worked on earlier in the night, and then this was followed by Drew and AJ's match of speed versus strength. Jeff comes into the ring and he says that it's time to paint. And there's more of the same here for Drew and Jeff with the speed versus strength dynamic. But when this match happens, the story develops even more into Drew having to overcome the odds of facing multiple fresh opponents, as well as the increasing length of the match. Then the story culminates into Sheamus taking advantage of Drew's exhaustion from the match itself. It's also worth mentioning that Drew's facial expressions in this match were absolutely brilliant, I thought. He really showed his exhaustion in his facial expressions, especially when the ref was asking him if he wanted to continue, when Sheamus blindsided him before their little match started. And the match also showcased excellent psychology and selling from everyone in the match. And in particular, I thought Drew did impress again here, as he really sold his tiredness and the injuries that he'd picked up in the match as it progressed. I also loved how he stuck to lots of power moves when he faced the smaller guys like AJ and Jeff Hardy. And I also thought Kofi did a great job of selling his left leg as soon as AJ targeted it. The structure of the match was great, as I thought each singles match built up the drama quite nicely in the match, and the pace of the match always lifted whenever a new competitor entered, maybe apart from the Randy Orton-Drew McIntyre match. And whilst the Randy Orton-Alexa Bliss segment did develop their story further, for me, it did affect the tempo of the match slightly, as I thought that Jeff and Drew brought the match to a really good climax before it dropped off again, before Sheamus and Drew had to pick it up. And whilst the Randy Orton-Alexa Bliss segment did develop their story further, for me it did affect the tempo of the match slightly, as when Jeff and Drew had their little match, it brought the match up to quite a good climax. You know, there were lots of exciting near falls, and then it did drop off for the Randy Drew segment, which meant Sheamus and Drew had to pick it up again for the last 5 minutes. And whilst this match did have a great story running through it, I don't think it was really enough to make you care too much about the outcome of the match. Personally, I did like the finish, and I don't think it really harmed Drew considering it had been in the match for 30 minutes. And I thought Sheamus would have looked a lot worse if he would have lost here, but instead he came out looking really strong. It was good stuff, I enjoyed it. So coming in at number 4, we go to AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, where we had what I thought was the match of the night from AEW, which saw Riho return and defeat Serena Deeb in the Women's AEW Eliminator Tournament. Great to see Riho back. I think she does give AEW a little bit more star power in a women's division that's already developing quite nicely these days. The story of the match centred around Serena Deeb not being at 100% because of her injured leg, as well as both women matching up quite nicely. They had a really good back and forth in the beginning of the match, and because they were so even, it resulted in Riho using her speed advantage and Serena Deeb using her strength advantage. However, what really impressed me in this match was the absolutely brilliant psychology and the pacing of the match. I thought the pacing of the match really allowed the psychology to flourish here. Firstly, Deeb did an excellent job of selling her injured left leg throughout the match, which even prevented her from hitting some of her moves. And I loved how Riho never directly attacked the leg, but there was a few times where she used the leg as leverage in order to gain the upper hand. I mean, she is a face, so it probably wouldn't have made a lot of sense if she did attack the leg, but at least she acknowledged it, which I really liked here. And then there was more good work from Deeb as well, who targeted the neck of Riho throughout the whole match, which is great psychology because it sets up her Deeb Tox finisher. And she also targeted Riho's left leg later on in the match, which is more good psychology as it nullifies her aerial offense and her speed advantage. I thought the selling from both women in general was terrific throughout, and I thought Riho also did a magnificent job of firstly selling her neck that was being worked on by Serena Deeb, and then she did a good job as well of selling her left leg. However, it didn't really prevent her from hitting some of her top rope aerial maneuvers, but I did like the fact that after she had hit those maneuvers, she then did go and sell the left leg. And even as soon as the match finished, both women continued to sell on the mat. They continued to sell their injured legs, which was great to see. But whilst the match did showcase a great story, I think the match was slightly lacking in drama because there was a face versus face dynamic. And whilst I did enjoy the finishing sequence of the match, I do think that the match could have been better and more exciting if it was 3 or 4 minutes longer and included some more believable near falls. And coming in at number 3, MSK versus the Grizzled Young Veterans in the finals of the Men's Dusty Classic from NXT Vengeance Day. Firstly, I am a huge fan of Gibson's mic work. I think he's so entertaining when he cuts those pre-match promos. This match showcased some fantastic innovative tag team offense from both teams, and at times the match did feel like a love letter to tag team wrestling, as we saw a really good poetry in motion from MSK to the outside of the ring. We also saw MSK's take on the heart attack with the added twist of Wesley diving from the top rope, and then we saw the best spot of the entire match, which was a tope suicida into a doomsday device on the outside of the ring. Absolutely brilliant spot. I thought the match told a simple story, but it was effective based on tempo, where MSK always tried to raise the tempo, which suited their high octane offense, whilst GYV tried to control and slow down the tempo, which suited their divide and conquer game plan throughout the match. And I thought the match had a great structure as well, beginning with a fun feeling out process, followed by a really good heat segment from GYV, who looked to control Nash Carter, and then this built up a really great hot tag from Wesley. From this point on, the match picked up a lot of steam, and whilst the pacing of the match was good, I think it could have been even better if the match had slowed down after some of those big moves to allow for a little bit more selling, add a little bit more drama to the match. Generally speaking though, I thought the match had great psychology with both teams sticking to their game plans. MSK hit loads of aerial maneuvers, whilst GYV cut off the ring effectively and tried to keep their opponents grounded for the majority of the match. But what I also liked about this match was that the teams largely kept to the rules of the match, which is always good to see in a tag team match. And I also thought Nash Carter did a good job of selling the neck whilst GYV were on top. This was a super fun match which absolutely breezed by. Now at this point you're probably wondering, why do I keep looking to my right and why do I keep sort of mucking up my words? Well, that is because I've got my notes on my computer and I'm quite inexperienced at this. Can't say I talk to a camera every day, so bear with me and I'm sure we'll get there eventually. So next up at number 2, Johnny Gargano versus KUSHIDA in an absolutely unbelievable singles match for the North American title on, NXT Vengeance Day. But before we really get into anything, I just got a question for you. Do you like chess? Because if you do, then you will love this match, because that's exactly what this match was. An unbelievable chess match between two amazing wrestlers. There was a move after counter move, hold, counter hold, all night long. And if you don't like chess, you'll still love this match. The match told a fantastic story, focusing on how evenly matched both men were. They were trading moves, they were trading holds, they were trading momentum all night long throughout the entire match, with Kushida working on the left arm of Johnny Gargano, whilst Johnny Gargano worked on the neck of Kushida. And the psychology of the match was absolutely superb, with Kushida working on the left arm, which made a ton of sense as it set up his hoverboard lock finisher, and Gargano working on the neck and shoulders of Kushida also made a lot of sense because it sets up his Gargano escape submission finisher as well, which meant that just every single move in the match I thought made a lot of sense. And the selling by both men as well of their respective injuries was top-notch stuff here. Really great stuff. I love the facial expressions from Johnny Gargano, especially when Kushida hit him with a chicken wing suplex into the middle of the ring, which then transitioned into a pinfall, and the look on Gargano's face, which really conveyed the fear from being hit by this move, was absolutely brilliant. The offense used by both men whilst targeting their opponent's injuries was really broad, and nothing really ever felt repetitive. There were just loads of different moves on show, and there were some really exciting spots in the match, including a pair of chicken wing suplexes on the outside from Kushida onto Johnny Gargano, and then we had an avalanche twisting suplex from Gargano onto Kushida, and then the best spot of this match was an absolutely breathtaking Spanish fly from Kushida, which transitioned into an armbar mid-rotation. It looked absolutely phenomenal. And then this obviously led into a great submission tease, which actually looked like Gargano might tap out here. And what's more, there were some exciting near falls in the match, including a fun series of pinfall reversals in the middle of the match as well. And then the match had an absolutely brilliant finish where Gargano guillotined Kushida's neck on the top rope of the ring, which was followed by two one final beat DDTs, one on the outside and one on the inside, which let Gargano pick up the win. If I was to be hypercritical of this match, I'd say whilst Kushida did show great intensity, I do still think his character needs a little more work for me in order to become more emotionally invested in his matches, but this match was absolutely brilliant. Can't really knock it too much. Now, this was such a hard decision to make, but coming in at number one, my match of the week, Finn Balor against Pete Dunne in a fantastic singles match for the NXT champion, which had loads of joint manipulation. The story of this one was similar to the last match, where both men traded moves and traded holds, with Dunne working on the left arm of Balor and Balor targeting the left leg of Dunne. I thought the facial expressions in this match in particular were absolutely brilliant from both men. It really helped propel the story. Dunne really showed his cold-hearted aggression in the match, whilst Balor conveyed just how painful Dunne's offence was. I also loved the subtle smirk from Balor after their feeling out process. He showed some begrudging respect to Pete Dunne. The psychology of the match was obviously amazing, as Dunne's work to the left arm and hand of Balor made so much sense because of Balor's surgically repaired left arm, as well as Dunne using Balor's injured jaw for leverage in the match in order to gain the upper hand. And I also liked how Balor targeted the left leg of Dunne in order to prevent him from really gaining any control in the match. The selling in this match was absolutely breathtaking from both men, selling their respective injuries expertly. But what I thought took it to another level was how the injuries prevented them from executing certain moves. For example, Balor tried to lock in two submission holds but couldn't really fully get it in because of his fingers, and Dunne also failed to hit the bitter end because of his leg giving out. There was also a couple of moments where he couldn't even run and he couldn't even walk because of his injured leg, which was great. It was brilliant work from both men here. And to top it all off, the pacing and structure of the match was just as great, as the match started out quite slow, which I did see some people criticised, but I thought it worked nicely because it suited the technical work that they were doing early on. And then the match gradually got quicker and more intense as each minute went by. They really built up the drama well in this match, which eventually culminated in a really exciting and dramatic finishing sequence, which had some really great effective near falls and really great effective submissions, which led to a great finish. And that's my list. So what were your favourite matches of the week? If you agree or disagree with me, please leave a comment in the section down below and we can have a good chat about it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, click on the notification bell and subscribe. It would mean so much to me. And next week we have the Elimination Chamber as well as all of the standard weekly shows, and we have 2 New Japan Road to Castle Attack shows as well. I hope you will have a great day, guys, and hopefully I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.